Welcome to Let's Talk. Where ordinary people are doing extraordinary things. We are live and interactive. With education, spoken word, dating, love, and relationships. Culture. Spirituality. Community. Sports. And politics. Let's talk. Please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe.
Good evening, Facebook, YouTube, and Periscope. And tonight, I know it's a little late for my audience, definitely the ones that watch the shows live, but tonight we got a special guest. I'm really excited for this show because the chop up is amazing. Tonight I got the brother Jay Sharp here. Jay Sharp is the CEO, creator, the visionary, the do-it-all for Indie Evolution Radio. It's an online radio. It's not a radio show, as we will discuss. It's a radio station. So I'm excited. Jay Sharp is excited, and we're gonna get this thing right off. Jay, give the audience some background about yourself in the music industry alone.
What's up, everybody? Jay Sharp here. Look, I started out just like everybody else as an artist. Back in '07, '08, I was flourishing a little, doing a little something with gospel hip hop. So I was a gospel hip hop artist who happened to end up going out on tour to open up for 50 Cent and G Unit. Now, before you even ask, don't ask me why I would be going out on tour with 50 Cent and G Unit. But the label that I was signed to, they thought that it would be a good look to, kind of incorporate our positive hip hop, gospel, background into the secular world, just kind of see how it would play out. So ultimately, this tour created about 25, I think it was almost like 30 artists from all across the country, independent artists who had all come to be on this tour. And on this tour, all of these artists were taken by a janky promoter. And they all got hit for like $2,500 a piece. So you start adding that up amongst 30 people, and they're expecting to be out on tour opening for, some major artists that are supposed to help, put a stepping stone in their careers. And now they go from being in the Marriott with everybody having their own individual room to being at a Motel 6 with 11 people sleeping on top of each other in two rooms. And ultimately, it became one of the greatest tests as an artist because we were all forced to sell our music. We were all forced to move units, to eat, to get back home, to make our way when we were supposed to be taken care of by this label and these promoters. And we all buying in and believing in what they have sold us. So now we stuck out in St. Louis, Missouri, matter of fact, and we standing on the street corners selling CDs so we could
Wow.
buy bus tickets and plane tickets home. So in that, I learned a whole lot. I learned that it was a gang of talented artists all across the country. And I learned that sometimes artists can go through experiences that can ultimately just kill their career because they don't know how they're going to be able to bounce back. They might have put their last $2,500 into going on this tour. Now they got to go back to being a regular person and ditch the whole dream of being an artist. And after that, I sat back and I had some relationships with some people in the industry who, at that time, a lot of people were being debunked from record labels. They were downsizing. So there were a lot of music executives who were more than willing to share how to create a profit on this side of the business. And, we conversated and I told them what I really wanted to kind of do. And they explained to me, one of the best things that I could do would be put a radio station together. And I was like, okay, that sounds good. But it really wasn't what I wanted to do. I felt like I wasn't going to be able to, really touch the way that I wanted to touch. But in so, I happened to be working on the back end creating an app for a radio show at the time on Blog Talk Radio called Hip Hop National. And through our conversations, each conversation I kept having with the owner of the show, he was like, man, I've been trying not to say this, but you got that voice. He was like, you really should get on the radio. And I'm like, nah, bro, that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to be on this side of the desk. I'm trying to be on the business side of this. And I'm, not the entertainment side anymore. But ultimately, he had some non-dedicated show hosts. And I got tired of seeing him fail. So I agreed to co-host his show with him. And I did that for a few months and it turned out better than I expected, to the point where I had got a phone call sitting on the couch on a Saturday afternoon from a radio station in Las Vegas. And they invited me to have my own show. And they asked me, if you were going to do a radio show, what would you do a radio show about? And, after sitting and thinking about it for a couple of days, of course, the conversations that I had had with the people in the industry really kind of kicked in, because to set up a platform for independent artists to be able to not only have their music heard, but have it heard in regular rotation and create a royalty situation for them to be able to win at radio the same way as top 40 artists are winning at radio, then it was pretty much a platform that would allow me to touch even more, because I was thinking small minded, because it really wasn't what I was thinking.
Mm-hmm.
But in the allowance of putting this radio show together, which was my very first show, was called Indie Evolution Underground Radio.
So this was the birth for your station then.
This was the birth of Indie Evolution Online Radio. And we started out on Spreaker.com. And I started out with did the whole little free 30 minutes. Let me see how this works out. Jumped up to an hour because I kept getting hits and kept getting people that wanted to hear more. They was like, you should be on longer. You need more time. You need to get on longer. So I did the hour thing. And I was like, well, shit, if I'm going to pay money like this, I might as well set up my own platform. So I sat down, did my research, figured out what I needed to do, and I'll be the first one to tell you, my non-technical self sitting up on the laptop, clicking and typing, trying to figure out, how to create this platform and what I needed and what I needed to do. So basically, after a couple of months of learning and figuring out how to get individual servers, dedicated servers that are that go directly to one place and allow you to move a lot of bit rates and keep everything streaming at a rate that is nominal to a terrestrial FM P1 radio station. It's a lot of little technical things that kind of go into it. And then you start looking at, if you want the artist to benefit, you gotta look at licensing. You gotta, make sure that you put all your ducks in a row. The music that you're playing is registered properly, and everybody's got their stuff in order. So this is why this is why it becomes like we were talking about the struggle, and the struggle becomes education and educating these artists, in how to have all their stuff together. So I'm looking forward to the rest of this conversation. I know that's pretty much the background of how this began and how I got started, and here we are.
One of the things, your experience, like you said, your experience of being out in St. Louis, you had no other choice but to basically hustle to get back home first and foremost. We talked about behind the scenes, and I always love to talk when I do talk to musicians. I always talk about um, Soldier Boy, right? And I
Hmm.
wasn't a big fan of Soldier Boy, and I'm not really a big fan of him. But what he did is how he broke that mold, of getting himself noticed. And those that don't know, they can look it up. We don't have to rehash what Soldier Boy did and how he got put on. He basically put himself on
Right,
through the internet, and
right.
then we know how YouTube said, we gonna hire Jimmy Iovine, and Jimmy Iovine basically runs YouTube Music now. So if an artist, and I always, you get a lot of people that's of age that done seen the music. We seen the street teams, we seen all that stuff come and go.
Hmm.
What would be the basic thing that you would tell a young artist that's really just trying to get noticed? What would you tell them to do?
The first thing that they need to do is make sure that don't expect to make one song and think it's going to be the hit. Okay. You're going to have to put in some work. You're going to have to put in some times of putting together. Um, you have to become an open book for real, because a and we were talking about this a minute ago. Society is not simple anymore, and you if you want to be noticed, you can get noticed just by telling your story, instead of making it be something superficial or trying to create a character that or an image that you don't necessarily have to roll with, because at the end of the day, people are in their minds, they're looking for music that is relatable to the things that they're going on with right now, and what's going on out here in society. So conscious music, this is where the opportunity for more conscious music has opened its doors, because you don't have to be the status quo, and you don't have to be a part of the programming that the industry likes to put us under in order for you to call yourself successful. You can be just as successful by creating a viable story that is relatable to the listeners, the viewers, and the people who are music lovers, which in music being a universal language, the only things left to do is put it in front of
One of the things that we discussed, and like I told you guys, just for my audience purposes, I'm excited for the interview. Me and Jay, we have a mutual friend that she has a tremendous a lot of energy. So when you get to meet her, you be like, wow, she's got passion, she's got energy, she's got drive. So meeting someone through her is like twice as good. One of the things, Jay, we talked about you being based in Las Vegas, and that brings a whole unique set of circumstances. Tell us about that experience, that ride you've been on.
it. Oh my word. I tell you what, it's been a very fast ride because it came with a lot of some things that were very unexpected. Um, when I left the Midwest, because I started in Kansas City, and you know I decided that it was time for me to branch out because things move a little bit slower in the Midwest. It's more seasonal, and in Vegas, it's something going on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. So I get off the plane within my first 3 days. I have my first interview. My first interview is with Freeway Rick Ross's nephew, Lil Mon, who actually was one of his VPs of Freeway Music Group. So I interview him. It turns into I become the radio promotions director for Freeway Music Group and Freeway Rick Ross. So I'm going back and forth with that. In the meantime, we're hitting up all of the independent scene is hot. I go because when I went to Vegas, when I got out to Vegas, it was 2014. Okay. So mid 2014, the independent scene is banging out there. So I get there and there's a show going on every night. Now, what set Indie Evolution apart out of the gate was the fact that we're a mobile radio station. So unlike your terrestrial radio stations who can pull a van up, send a feed, put the speakers out, shoot it back to the studio, I'm pulling up phone. I'm going inside the event. I'm setting up the laptop, the mic, the banner. I'm getting the Wi-Fi password from the club owner, and I'm broadcasting live inside the event. So now these artists is coming off the stage after I done analyzed their performance, and they getting off the stage and coming and getting on the radio.
Pay attention, y'all.
So
Jay getting it from the mud.
boy, the mud. So Q, when I tell you I didn't sleep, I swear I slept all day. I slept all day. I woke up to do my show. Then most nights by 11, 12 o'clock midnight, I'm out at the next show. Did this for a whole year straight. Come 2015, all of a sudden I get a phone call. I get a phone call from one of the competing radio stations.
Wow.
They tell me that they want to nominate me for Rising Show Host of the Year. So I'm like, huh?
I'm just a Midwest
Forget,
guy just passing
hey,
through.
yeah. Forgive me if I sound a little naive right now, but really, that's okay. Oh, well, what am I supposed to tell you? No, don't do it. So I get nominated with 13 other show hosts. So, I do what I do. I start talking about it on the radio. I start, posting it on the book. And, and marketing, go vote for me, go vote for me. By the time the awards ceremony came, the dude called me the day before the awards. He was like, bro, I could have called you a week ago. I was like, what do you mean? He was like, man, I don't know what you do or what you did. He was like, but you beat everybody else by more than 6,000 votes.
Wow.
I said, for real? So I got to walk across the stage and they gave me an award for being Rising Show Host of the Year.
Wow.
Big shout out to Powerhouse Radio. My
Wow.
man DG, RJ, and Miss Udana. Yep.
So this is a year. This is a year
This is
after
a
being
year
in.
in. This is a year into Vegas. And in the meantime, between time, I done rubbed, I've been able to rub elbows with some people that have meant some stuff in this business, some comedians who still out there doing their thing. And, a lot of people who are very influential in the industry. And,
so let me ask you, Jay. Like we talked about how you really never really wanted to be on that side of that table anymore, and now basically because you're the CEO,
I've had to also
you have, and you're also part of the entertainment. You're both. You wear a bunch of different hats.
Yes, I do.
Talk about, and we discussed this. We were discussing, for those in the chat, we were discussing sponsorship. A lot of different people feel like when we have when we're on these platforms, and then we get, the big thing right now is being censored. A lot of people think, oh, I'm gonna build my own app, or I'm gonna build my own platform, and I'm gonna do what I want to do, not realizing that FCC still got some rules, and sponsorship. You got some guidelines if you're gonna have sponsors or big sponsors or whatever. How's the sponsorship thing goes for you? You got to get out there and like really hustle, or
yes, you do, because you have to explain the viability of your platform, and you have to help business owners understand that if you build in your company, you have an advertising budget. You're going to have to spend that advertising budget. Now, first and foremost, we look at it from a standpoint to where, I look at what market value is. I pay attention to what the running ad goes for, whether it's Super Bowl Sunday or Friday night at 2 a.m. And in retrospect, we know that we not only compete with the major market, but we're saving you money if you choose a smaller platform that is yet creating more and more of an audience. Because in retrospect, we're doing them better than a regional advertising campaign or a local advertising campaign, because our radio station is global. So we currently touch 49 states and 13 countries. So you're not just advertising to your people for right now restitution or right now customers or right now clientele. You marketing to people who could come see you 6 months, 8 months down the road, and still create that revenue source for your business that you was trying to create when you initially spent that little bit of money to be spun on our station.
Let me ask you a question. How did it feel when you first started looking at the analytical charts and like, okay, this is what I'm touching. This is the demographic I'm touching. This is the audience. This is the height of my audience.
You know what? I have been, of course, there's been the highs and lows. But the moment I was able to go on Alexa.com, and for y'all who don't know, Alexa.com is the website that monitors every website on the internet. So they rank your website by how many hits you get, how much traffic you're getting. And I've been able to log on to Alexa to find my website in the top million websites in the world, the top 250,000 in the United States. Now, in the world, of course, there's over, and I'm sure there's well more now, but there's well over 3 billion, 3
Yeah.
billion websites on the internet. 3 billion. So when you're in the top million globally, it's like it's jaw dropping. When you're in the top 250,000 in the United States, and there's over 6 or 7 million websites alone in the United States, then it's humbling. I always tell my team, we still ain't nowhere yet. And yes, we got awards, we got plaques, we got certificates, but there's always room for growth. And that's where, we look to keep the longevity of the station available, not only for artists, but small businesses. And, where we've taken it in 2021 and, as crazy as 2020 has been, we've created an entire streaming platform. So if I guess the best word to say is it's like the radio on steroids, because we've created a platform where we're YouTube, Netflix, and the radio all in one place. So, it creates new opportunities for, not only musical artists, but, screenwriters, filmmakers, talk show hosts.
I'm gonna ask you a question, Jay. I'm gonna ask you a question.
Okay, go ahead.
With
Go ahead.
now we know the health and the pandemic hit, but
Hmm.
being that you were already out of terrestrial radio, you were on online radio. Um, Explain to the people when the pandemic hit how this was like, uh, for lack of better words, this was like the perfect storm for you.
Oh my gosh. It's like, and I've told a lot of people this. The pandemic, God calls people to sit down. And when they have to sit down, they have to pay attention. And when you think you're bored in your life and you have the internet available to you, you start looking more and more into what it is that you want to pass your time doing. And I tell you, this is why I love us, because whatever you're doing, you can turn us on, put us in the background, keep doing what you're doing, keep scrolling, keep watching, keep doing what you're doing. You got some dope. I mean, unless you're trying to use your video and your screen and your sound for something else, but you got music in the background. You got my crazy self, who, you never know what direction I might come from. I come off the cuff, and it just doesn't, I can't tell you where it's gonna come from at any given moment. And I think that's a lot of what my fans and followers and listeners, they kind of dig that, because it's like I'm gonna give you that aha moment within at some point within the show. But this storm has allowed people to really pay attention to the viability of quality entertainment, good music that they haven't been introduced to, artists that they may not know yet, and as well as, it's been beneficial for businesses as well, because you got more people tuning in, you got more people hearing your commercials, you got more people that's going and maybe logging on to your website, checking out your material, checking out your products and services. So it's been beneficial, although it's been tough because now you have to keep everybody entertained all the time. But
I know you was planning, and we didn't talk about it. I was gonna bring this up. I always got these thoughts in my head, but I know you was planning something really, really nice for when the stadium opened up.
oh
And I
man,
know,
oh
and
man,
I know you got something really planning when they allow them fans back in that stadium.
look here. Now, I love Vegas. Vegas is home, but I'm a Chiefs fan at heart.
Mm.
So yeah, I'm coming up in there draped in red. I'm sweating. I'm gonna do the same thing because I'm gonna tell you, I love in Vegas because even last season when they knew they was coming to Vegas and everybody in Vegas is all excited about it. And I kept saying, I don't know why y'all excited. It ain't like them coming to Vegas is gonna make them no better. But in the meantime, between time, now y'all got a show. Y'all got another show to add to the strip. So in the meantime, between time, they damn near every local bar in Vegas is a Raiders bar.
Wow.
So I go strutting in there on football Sundays with all my Chiefs gear on. And it didn't matter if we was playing the Raiders, I would go sit and root against them and then make the bar back turn the Chiefs game on if they wasn't playing at the same time. Otherwise, I'd have the Chiefs game. I have one. They be watching the Raiders game, and I'm watching the Chiefs game, and they be hot at me. They be looking at me, but I knew all of them, so it didn't matter.
Let me how did you, like you always say that the young artists, you want them to be about their business when they come and learn that experience of the janky promoter, so to say. Uh,
Mhm.
did you realize the music industry was that cutthroat? I know we always heard it, like it was always the story. Oh, the music industry cutthroat, and then a lot of times we still cling to it.
Yes. Just so happened, my father was a saxophonist for 40 years. And, he went out on tour with some big name, Grover Washington's, the Kenny G's, even toured with Bootsy for a little while, back in the day. And I saw him, I saw him really kind of lose himself with the way the industry had done him. And it wasn't a pretty sight. And it made me pay attention even more to how much of a Shark Tank this game is. And people don't understand that, but I'll be the first one to tell them the music industry is not for the weak at heart because the moment they find a way to gobble you up, they're going to get you. And when they get you, they got you. Then you stuck. And at the end of the day, we in a day and era now where there's no need to be stuck within this industry because the independent world has opened up so wide to where the avenues to get to the dollar are so readily available that if you just learn, learn, learn what this internet is being used for, because each time you on YouTube and you put your video up there, do you understand every 30 seconds? That's a royalty click. That's a streaming royalty click. So if you got a 3-minute video up and it's 7 30-second segments in a 3-minute video, you're getting 7 times the royalty clicks than you following by YouTube standards, gaining 1 million views and so many subscribers in order to get a check. So it's you create more revenue from streaming the radio. It takes 288 spins in order for an artist to qualify, just qualify to start getting counted for royalties.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was telling somebody when Joe Rogan signed his $100 million deal with Spotify.
Hmm.
A bunch of people was like, I was really happy. I was really happy because of the space that we in, and they were like, "Why are you happy? Why are you so happy?" I said, "Because he's a content creator." They're like, "Well, did you ever listen to his show?" Yeah, Joe Rogan don't talk about nothing. He uses his celebrity to not talk about nothing. So I said to them, I said, what's going to happen next is that you're going to see a lot of the black content creators start getting the bag. You see, Charlemagne created a lane outside of Telestar Radio because he's basically planning his exit strategy.
Hmm.
You even see Joe Button had done some things as well. I'm gonna
Yep.
ask you a question, Jay, and I ain't trying to put you under the gun.
Come on
Would
with
you
it.
go? Would you go to Telestar Radio?
Uh, my mouth's too reckless to go to terrestrial radio.
Oh, you'll be causing the radio station some money, huh?
Hey, yeah, I be costing them, and they gonna be like, "Hey, bro, you gonna have to go." They gonna be like, "You gotta go." No, you know what? I think to be completely honest, I wouldn't, because contrary to popular belief, this is a rinse and repeat system. So before I would go to terrestrial radio, I would build and build and build the viewerships and the listeners until Sirius came to cash me out. You know, somebody would have to come and cash me out. And then once they cash me out, I'm just gonna go start another station.
And what, that's right. That's what they do, right?
Yep.
One of the things with Telestar Radio anyway is that when you look at it, a lot of these things are they're basically talk shows that just happen to be on the radio. They're not even they very rarely play music. You might play 20 songs within a 4 hour period,
Hmm.
with talking and promotion and probably having a guest. That's interesting. I always think about that because now you done entered this space of online, and you be basically like, and I want people to understand, Jay Sharp does not have, he has a radio show on his radio station. This is very important for people to know. He owns his radio station. It's very important. So with that ownership, tell us some of the do's and don'ts that you've learned.
Uh, well, one thing that I have learned is don't let those that you work with or around dictate what your dream is, because everybody's not going to have the same vision as you. But a lot of people are going to want to tap their finger in the water and see what they can do. Unfortunately, we do live in a time period where, people like to steal before they like to build relationships and, coexist. So you have to be cautious with who you're working with, because people will come in just to see what they can do to try to take over what you created, or duplicate it without the complete duplication process. So you have to be real careful about that. But you don't want to close yourself off to missing opportunities that could be good for both you and the other person involved. So, it's one of those things where vetting your clientele becomes real crucial. I mean, I found myself over the course of over the course of 8.5 years, I've gone through three teams.
Mm.
And these are all people who, I thought we all had the same vision. They made me believe we had the same vision. They understood that I had created a platform to secure that vision, and we were supposed to continue building on what was already established. And you know, I next thing you know, they done cuss me out, ran off, tried to start their own radio station, and trying to duplicate what they've seen me do.
Let me now we're gonna get to some fun questions here. Outside, and I'm quite sure your pops was one of your inspirations when it came to the music. Give me three inspirations in the music industry and why.
One of my biggest hip hop inspirations was E40. I have always liked not only the style and delivery of his music, but the creativity of creating an entire vocabulary that you know tells stories, and all makes sense. It can be as far fetched or left field as you want it to be, but it all makes sense in my eyes. So I've always, and not to mention, I've been actually compared to him when I was doing music. So he was one of the biggest ones. As far as um, of course, with gospel music, I have been a huge Fred Hammond fan for a long time, and I can remember some days where Fred Hammond, he done got me through some stuff,
Mm.
and I've always just kind of loved what he's been able to do, not only with his voice but with his message. Um, and then I guess, trust me, my pops wasn't in the top three. Um, hey, I'm just gonna keep it 1,000. But I've kind of had a thing for Life Jennings, because even the older I've gotten, I feel like he was one of the first ones to really tell that story, and that story will have you in awe, because it's not what you expecting to hear from a voice like that. So I've always dug his music and the way he delivers his stuff too. So those would
Yeah,
be, those have been,
yeah.
three of my biggest
Some,
influences.
sometimes when you hear his story, you'll be like, "Is this guy a rapper? He an R&B?"
Right.
Like you can't kind of like it doesn't. So I see why you would say Life Jennings. Very very interesting thing. So do the young guys come to you and say like, "Yo, I want you to be my manager," and you be like, "I don't manage people."
Man, I swear to you, I hear that at least about two to three times a week.
Wow.
And and that's not just artists. I get producers that they want me to manage their catalog. um and I even have small business owners who have asked me to be their business manager. I'm actually managing one small business out of Dallas, Texas, called J Bay Streets. It's it's a, a edibles,
Okay.
company, and they infuse with THC, of course. Um, so big shout out to J Bay and J Bay Streets. So, but yeah, I get that a lot, man, all the time, and I do have to tell them, like, look, I don't want to be a manager. I can be your consultant. About the best I can do is I can be your consultant,
Hmm.
because I got too much stuff to do in a day to be trying to manage your schedule, manage your music, manage your life. And when you do that, it's like they don't do nothing but just call you up and be like, well, what do I do next? 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 Be like, bro, if you don't figure something out, we gonna have some problems.
What since you've been doing it, what I'm gonna ask you, it's a two-part question here.
Okay.
What is the best deal that you never made, and the worst deal that you ever made?
That's easy. The best deal I never made was before Indie Evolution. There was Combined Promotions. Big shout out to my guy Mingo Stewart, my business partner in Combined Promotions, and we were booking concerts, and we had a client, which actually, it's funny. It's funny because things come around full circle. And we had a client at that time, this has been about 10 years ago, the Havasupai Native tribe out of Supai, Arizona. And they were preparing for their annual Peach Festival, which is like one of the biggest festivals, and it brings in all the different tribes. And, they're real big on reggae music. So we had solidified Stephen Marley to take down that to the tribe, and due to unforeseen circumstances and a little bit longer conversation that they had to have on their side, we lost the booking because he ended up booking another show for the date that they needed him for. So that was the best deal I never made. The worst deal that I did make, man, look, janky promoters, man, janky promoters. Plies. I booked Plies. We booked Plies in Kingman, Arizona, and we were supposed to get him down there. And this manager, he kept going on and on and on, and all the way up to the point where we got the money from the club. We shot the deposit off, everything. 6 racks, just to, for the deposit. So we shoot this 6 racks off. The day after, we get a phone call from Plies' real manager, and they don't know this dude.
Wow.
And we done sent this $6,000 to this dude. And everybody had supposedly verified his credentials, all of this. So he was supposed to be the road manager, actually. He wasn't, the manager, he was the road manager. So in being the road manager, everybody's like, okay, everybody done signed off on it. We done did the wire transfer. Next thing we get a call from the manager. He's like, who is this dude? Because we done heard about him a couple of times, but we don't know him. He's not in our camp. And Plies ain't coming. Worst deal I ever made.
So, in that, the lessons learned for Indie Evolution Online Radio. What?
Absolutely.
Just tell us 5 lessons from that experience.
Check folks' credentials. Make sure everything's in writing. Make sure you understand what's in writing. Make sure they drop their deposits on time. And then make sure you deliver the product once they do all of those 4 things.
So, wow, that's interesting. So, Jay, let me ask you: have you been able to spend some time with yourself and say, like, yo, I really came far with this thing, man? Like, have you ever Have you had that moment where you was able to pat yourself on the back a little bit, like, yo, I've been blessed to really, and this is something we talked behind the scenes, is that financially, we all know that our goal and what we're doing is to try to make money to provide and basically create that generational wealth. However, the biggest thing in all of this is building those relationships. So have you had that moment like, yo, I'm happy.
I do, and it's a different kind of moment because never would I call it patting myself on the back because, like I said earlier, I still, I wake up every morning and I feel like we ain't there yet.
You
You know
thinking
what I'm
already.
saying?
You thinking before your day start.
Before my look, I wake up thinking, I go to bed thinking, I'm thinking about what's happening the next day. I'm thinking about what's happening next week. I'm thinking about what's happening next month. I'm thinking about what the new show host is gonna be doing, when we gonna get this going, when that's gonna happen, what promotions gotta get done, what graphics gotta be made, what commercials need to be shot and recorded. It's unending. So when we get to sit down and have this conversation, this is my I feel good moment because it allows me to not only share the information that I have and about the platform, but it makes me feel like somebody else wants to know this. Somebody, not just that they need to know it, but they want to know this. So, I'm busy doing my own show. I'm the interviewer, not the interviewee. So, this is my
Some relief.
yeah, this
Yeah,
is my moment. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
And
This
it's
this
still and it's still working,
yeah.
and we still working.
This is the time where you could say, like, now I could breathe a little bit. I don't have to think. I'm just like I tell people, don't get nervous over an interview. It's just like we having a video conference
Yeah,
phone
it's just
call.
just a conversation. Just a
so
conversation.
so so what's next, Jay, man? Like, uh,
Hey, look.
are you ready? Are you? I'm gonna ask you a question. This is something I was sharing earlier with some friends of mine. We all know that, God willing, the pandemic is going to be. We're going to go back to what we would consider normal eventually, sooner than later, hopefully.
Mhm.
And because the market had got saturated with everybody wanting to step into the space, then if things are going back to normal, people gonna stop doing what they're doing. Are you ready for the
Getting
opening
back to
back
normal.
up? Yeah, getting back to normal.
Look, I'm nervous, but I'm definitely ready because I miss being out there. This the thing about Indie Evolution Radio, it has expanded J Sharp as a brand as well. So, there's there's those moments where I get those phone calls to take those flights to go host a fashion show or go host a indie artist showcase. So I'm definitely missing those moments. Plus, I also create vendor events out in Vegas. So, we do things where we like to continually feature independent businesses and small businesses and things of that nature. So I'm overly ready. And they're getting ready to, things are starting to open back up in Vegas. So it's about that time. So we we prepping. We
I'm
prepping
gonna,
right
I'm
now.
I'm gonna ask you a question now. This I don't tell people this, so I wouldn't mind you
Hmm.
not answering the question. I will not
Okay.
be upset.
Okay.
Who's the big interview, Jay? Who's the one? Who's the one? Who is the one person that you could interview that you would be like, I got
Let me see. Let me see. In all reality, that interview wouldn't be in the industry. It would be in Hollywood. It would be a Hollywood interview. And I think one of the people that I would most want to sit down with, and it's kind of crazy because I grew up a wrestling fan, and I just kind of love the way Dwayne Johnson has transitioned from sports entertainment to the big screen. And to sit down and really kind of have a conversation with him would probably put me up there. It would put me up there.
Yeah. Yeah. Folks in the chat, you'd be amazed, man, when people are content creators. You guys would never understand it. You may think that, like he said, when he said Hollywood, I know most people thought he gonna go for Denzel or Samuel. You'd be amazed, man, that some people have that effect on us and be inspiring to us. And the way that Dwayne changed his career with the wrestling, from playing football, the ballers. It's even been some talk that he may even try to run for president one day. I mean,
my!
He definitely has the
charisma,
the charisma, the understanding, the people person, the being able to go in a room and work the room, as they say. So, Jay, man, I really appreciate you joining us, man. Do you have any final thoughts, man?
I gotta tell y'all about one final thing, because this is something special that we're doing, Steve. And in all this conversation about expanding and broadening your horizons, 2021 has brought us some great opportunities, and we passing them on to all of you guys as viewers, listeners, even artists. This ain't just for artists. This is for everybody that's under the sound of my voice and can see me on this video. We are doing a giveaway right now, and we are sending 4 people. It's 2 trips for 2 to Las Vegas for 420 weekend. So all you have to do, all you got to do is go to our Linktree page, and on our Linktree page, there's a registration button. Now, registration is $50 to register, but I'm feeling generous. It's a new year. We're trying to get back out here and get back into society. So my generosity say, if you enter for $50, I'm gonna reward you with a $400 restaurant certificate for you to go and enjoy meals, whether you win the Vegas trip or not. So that's just for registering. Then registrations will end March the 7th. March the 9th, we'll be announcing the winners live on the air. And we'll be giving away these trips for 420 weekend. We also working on something special for the winners once they get to Vegas with our cannabis people. So, if you a smoker, even if you ain't, this is your chance to get away.
Let the audience know how they could. First and foremost, I apologize to the audience. How can they find Indie Evolution Radio online?
You can find everything Indie Evolution at linktr.ee/IE radio. You can listen to the station live. You can get to our website. You can check out our YouTube page. You can check out, subscribe, like, all that good jazz. You can register for the competition. You can sign up for our membership packages on the station. We got viewer membership packages where it's free to get a viewer membership, but it gets you those instantaneous alerts for new giveaways, new contests that we might run, things of that nature. You also have
for anybody in the chat, that's the link that's on the screen. T. Lachelle put the link up. That's the link for the radio station.
Thank you, T.
That's the link for everything.
Everything in the evolution, merchandise, listen, all of that.
Listen, you could win a trip to Vegas, 420.
420 weekend. We sending them to Vegas.
You could be an adult for a weekend.
Oh my goodness.
So, Jay, man, I really appreciate you joining the show, man, and I'm quite sure this won't be your first time on this platform, and I really enjoyed. And trust me, brother, you may think that you're just doing radio, but as a content creator, you basically are helping me out a lot. With understanding the intricacies of being able to navigate on their platform, but always focusing on trying to build my own. And
Right.
I really, really appreciate you coming. And I'm quite sure we're going to definitely have you on the show very, very soon because it's a
Hey, I
lot
hope
that we
so.
it's a lot that we didn't talk about, but
It
it's
really
cool.
is.
It's cool, and it's
Yeah, we'll have to have a part two.
definitely, definitely. And if those in the chat, when I first heard Jay voice, y'all may laugh. I said, "Yo, his voice remind me of Dave Chappelle." And the reason and the reason why is because he and I know why the guy probably wanted you to do the show is because his voice speaks with a lot of clarity in his voice. Those in the music industry know what I'm talking about with clarity. He don't need much stuff going on behind the scenes to hear what he's saying. So Jay, I really appreciate you, brother, and I'm proud of all that you're doing, man, and definitely we're gonna definitely keep in touch, man. And I appreciate everything.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. I
All
appreciate you
right.
having me on, man. And I look forward to it. This definitely won't be the last. You had to get me on here. We gotta talk sports too.
Oh,
Yeah.
definitely, definitely, definitely. For those in the chat, thank you guys for joining us tonight. I know it's kind of late usually for my show, but like I said, this show was definitely well worth it, and definitely being up late. And you guys have a blessed week and take care.